हेलो एवरीवन, वेरी वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग टू ऑल द व्यूअर्स ऑफ अनअकैडमी लॉ। आप सभी का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है हमारे आज के एक स्पेशल YouTube एपिसोड में, वेयर वी विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट ऑल द इम्पॉर्टेंट आर्टिकल्स फ्रॉम दिस मंथ्स न्यूज़पेपर. We have all concluded the month. We are at the end of it. Today is 31st July. So it becomes very pertinent कि in case we have missed out on certain things, it is important for us to prepare for it better. And that is exactly what we will be doing in today's session. हम न्यूज़पेपर के उन आर्टिकल्स पे ध्यान देंगे which were very important, which we should have concluded, या you all should have read them. Nevertheless, so we'll be talking about all of them. This is from July 1 till July 30th, including today's newspaper also. So very very warm welcome to everybody who have tuned in today on a very wonderful morning. And if you are someone who is watching me for the very first time, I'm Kushagra Goyal, a graduate from National University, a Masters in Economics, and I've assisted students to achieve AIR 4 and 16 and many other CLAT rankers, including these ones who you see on your screen for CLAT 2022. And अगर आप भी इन्हीं की तरह एक टॉपर बनना चाहते हैं, want to get into wonderful law colleges across the country, then you should enroll in these batches. The first one is Success Law, where it is an integrated batch for CLAT and LSAT students, which will be an year-long batch, and I will be covering your entire GK section. Similarly, for CLAT 2023 aspirants, we have also started a purely English batch, which began on July 28, and then we have a comprehensive CLAT and AILET batch, which will be in English language, and it will also include live mock test plus sectional test plus doubt solving in live classes. Now, the best part is that all of you can avail all of this at a discount of 20%, including additional free months. So for example, if you subscribe to 6 months, you will get 1 month free. If you subscribe to 12 months, you will get 3 months free. And if you get subscribed to 24 months, you will get 6 months free. And all of this is available till tonight. That is 11:59 p.m. and the code is KUSHGK. इसी के थ्रू आप इन क्लासेस को एक्सेस कर पाएंगे. वेरी वेरी वार्म वेलकम विदित. And this is available on both Plus and Iconic subscriptions, which has been extended for your perusal until 31st. Okay. But if you are someone who needs physical copies, physical compendiums, everything in your hand, then you should subscribe to Unacademy's Iconic category subscription and avail a discount of 6 months over your subscriptions. So try doing that at the earliest. On that note, when you subscribe to Iconic, you will also get live mentorship plus doubt solving plus priority in classes whenever you raise your hand for doubt solving. So if you want this special treatment, subscribe at the earliest. बाकी किसी doubt के लिए आप call कर सकते हैं at 8585858585 पर. And if you want any other updates from us, you can subscribe to our Telegram channel, that is Unacademy_CLAT. And मुझसे connect करने के लिए मेरा Telegram channel है Kushagra Goyal_Unacademy. उसके थ्रू आप मुझसे connect कर सकते हैं. On that note, let's begin. So the first editorial that we are seeing today is we need to protect whistleblowers. Now, whistleblower as a concept exists when someone within the organization gives away information that could be difficult for those in charge. Recently, why are we talking about whistleblowers in the month of July? Whistleblowers from the company of Uber revealed that Uber had been funding different companies, different associates across the world to keep themselves ahead of the curve, to make sure that the laws were in consonance of how their business model was. This was something that was broken out in the world, especially by the Guardian newspaper in UK. So our former judge of the Supreme Court, Justice Madan Lokar, he writes about another aspect within India. So which is about RTI, Right to Information Act of 2005. Now the RTI Act was brought in as a progressive by default information sharing by the government, that the government should on its own has to share information. Now this information could sometimes be problematic. For example, it could be revealing that 90 crore was spent on one bathroom in a government office. That could be a problem. Similarly, whether last year the scam in Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh was open up when Aadhaar card of students were being taken away for their subsidies on education. So it is through RTI we can realize, or we can open up or open into different spheres of government information that could be happening. So the RTI Act, now why we need to talk about it in the section of your legal reasoning. Okay. Now who all has the burden to share information? Under RTI, anything that comes under public authority and anything that affects public interest. Those are two criterias under which we have to ensure that the information that is shared with us is, or who is responsible to share this information. Okay, these are the two major aspects that we need to have. So every time there is a question that, for example, I write a RTI application to the Supreme Court seeking information about the judge's personal phone number. That is not something that is in the public interest. Whereas if I ask what are the allowances that a judge may receive or the Chief Justice receives, that could be something that is public interest because it is public money. Similarly, what is the expenditure incurred on Prime Minister's travel to the G7 summit? That is a specific information. How many journalists and officials traveled with him can also be determined through the amount of expenditure. So RTI is a source of information Now this information or receiving information is part of Article 19 of the Indian Constitution. Okay. Is protected under Article 19, and when was this stated recently? In the case of versus Union of India. Now, this is the information related to the legal concept that we need to know. Now, what is the other type of information that we need to be aware? What is the author talking about in this one? He's talking about the violence that RTI activists face, because while the information has to be furnished in 30 days, if the information seeker is itself eliminated, it creates a chilling effect. So that is what the author is pointing out. Ki by killing, by violence against RTI activists, we are trying to curb information in the society. Okay, and therefore we need a Whistleblowers Act. We need to provide protection to people who are making efforts to raise consciousness of the society. अगर हमें कुछ गलत पता ही नहीं चलेगा, तो we will never be able to differentiate between right and wrong. And that is what the author is saying, that a Whistleblowers Protection Act provides those who are trying to raise consciousness of the society protection, because without information, without consciousness, a democratic society cannot exist. Okay. Then we move on to the next one, narrow view. Now, what was this about? This was about the amendments to PMLA Act. Okay. Now what is this lead to, or what is it related to? It relates to money laundering. Okay, now so what comes in highlight? What has the court done? The court has equated money laundering equivalent to terrorism. Then the court has also done, in money laundering, burden of proof is on the accused. Now this is about that the offense. Now when you equate it equivalent to terrorism, bail becomes an exception. Then when you are being summoned by PMLA or the Enforcement Directorate, which is the body related to money laundering offences, then in that relation, grounds need not be informed. ओके, जिस ग्राउंड पे आपको समन किया गया है, जिस ग्राउंड पे आपके खिलाफ कार्रवाई करी जा रही है, उसके बारे में कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन देने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, ऐसा कोर्ट ने कहा है. ठीक है, grounds need not be informed. And another thing that the court has also accepted is that statements to ED official is evidence. Now normally none of this happens with in a normal police case, neither, and in most of the statements, even under terrorism, that statement to an ED official could be evidence is also not there. So this judgment has been criticized through and through for its narrow view, because it creates ED as a parallel state. What does it do? The author is saying that the ED has become a parallel state on its own. Now, another part is that, so the things that the ED is exceptional for, those have been addressed in the judgment and have been upheld. Now, another part of it which was in question before the court was related to passing all these amendments as money bill. That whether, even if all of this was actually legal, let's say they are constitutional, but they had to have the approval of the parliament. Now, the government, when passing these amendments, had only passed them through Lok Sabha, because money bill only requires approval of the Lok Sabha. So now the question before the court was whether this characterization of all of this was valid has been left through a constitutional bench, that a constitutional bench will determine whether this characterization of bill as money bill was correct or not. Okay. On that note, let's pause, and very, very good morning, Khushi, Sheelu, Manoj, Rishu, Kashish, Abhineet, Neha, very, very good morning. Hi, Harsh. Hello, Rishabh. So, this entire file, what I am writing on the screen and what will be the PDFs that you have, the articles will also be available to you. Do not worry about it. Okay. So, moving on. just to allay your fears, PDF will be available. Don't worry about it, okay? PDF will be available. All articles okay, so don't worry about it. All the articles will be provided to you in my Telegram group. आप उन्हें zoom करके पढ़ पाएंगे. Don't worry about it. PDFs of this PPT will also be available on the Telegram group. So don't worry about it. Okay. Now coming back. So the next one is in search of relevance. Now what is the relevance of which we are searching here? The relevance of the Commonwealth Games. The Commonwealth Games are being held in Birmingham in UK. Excuse me. Right? Now, there are two new sports that have been added. 3x3 basketball. And women T20. Mixed synchronized swimming. One sport that has now been removed. Commonwealth Games, yes, Commonwealth. I hope now it is clear. All right. The Commonwealth Games. Okay, the sports, three new sports that have been added Birmingham के अंदर 3x3 basketball, women's T20 and mixed synchronized swimming. Along with one sport that has been removed is shooting. Okay. Now what is the relevance that we are seeking here? Why are we talking about it? Is it worthwhile to host an event? 800 million की cost के events को host करने का क्या reason है? Commonwealth खुद उसकी क्या relevance है? Commonwealth is basically all the countries who were erstwhile colonies of Britain. ठीक है? Now the British Empire is not there. Economies of these countries, उनकी priorities खुद से बहुत different है. Commonwealth Games अपने आप में कोई world class नहीं होता है. A lot of countries, for example, some countries do not participate in it also, and they are not even qualifiers for the World athletic championships or their respective events, or even the Olympics. So winning in Commonwealth doesn't get you anywhere in your sport particularly. So therefore that becomes a question ki, is it worthwhile to spend so much on a games that have really no relevance? जैसे कि Asian Games are qualifiers for Olympics. उसी तरीके से every continent has their own athletic games. There are World Athletic Championships. There are other type of championships, World Cup, Shooting World Cup, Archery, all of this. So ये Commonwealth Games करवाने का क्या relevance है? Is it just nostalgia about the British Empire? क्यों ऐसा करने की ज़रूरत है? Those are the things that is being discussed. Okay? As things stand, हमें ये पता होना चाहिए कि कॉमनवेल्थ गेम्स क्या है और उनके बारे में क्या हो रहा है. सो दे आर बीइंग हेल्ड इन बर्मिंघम, यूनाइटेड किंगडम. 3 न्यू ऑफ देम. स्पोर्ट्स दैट हैज बीन रिमूव्ड फ्रॉम इट इज शूटिंग. ओके, द लास्ट थिंग दैट वी विल हैव टू नोट डाउन इवेंचुअली is who actually wins them. Okay, so once the games are over we will note down the results. Okay, yes, you can note down the things that I am writing on the screen, or you can write the way you feel comfortable with. आपकी जैसी इच्छा है, आप ऐसे भी नोट कर सकते हैं जैसे मैं लिख रहा हूँ, या आप खुद से भी नोट्स बना सकते हैं. ठीक है, आप जिस तरीके से कंफर्टेबल हो आप वैसा काम कर सकते हैं. Okay, then the next is the poor state of India's fiscal federalism. Now this article was important to understand how finances are divided between countries. So this article was an overview. India की fiscal problem क्या है, क्यों हमारे यहाँ income कम है या debt क्यों ज़्यादा हो रही है, what is the purpose, what is the reason behind states उनका debt बढ़ता ही जा रहा है और center का revenue बढ़ता जा रहा है. So this was to characterize. So a couple of things to understand. इसके अंदर this article helps us understand those things. सबसे पहले it tells us the reality of divisible pool of taxes. ठीक है, it tells us the reality of divisible pool of taxes. Now divisible pool of taxes के हिसाब से overall what are the taxes that come under it? In GST, income tax, those taxes are to be divided between central government and state government. Okay, now state government keeps 60% of them while it devolves 40% with the states. ठीक है, all the different state governments उनके अंदर divide किया जाता है. But the author is pointing out कि ये जो divisible pool of taxes है, इनके अलावा भी एक चीज़ होती है which is known as cess, duties. These are not part of divisible pool of taxes. ठीक है, ये शॉर्ट फॉर्म मैंने यहाँ पे लिखा है, not part of divisible pool of taxes. Okay, so इसका क्या मतलब है? When it is not part of divisible pool of taxes, it directly goes to the central government. So overall अगर भारत के अंदर कोई 100 रुपये टैक्स दे रहा है तो उसमें से 65 rupees goes to the central government, whereas only 35 rupees out of it goes to different state governments. Okay, अब it talks about the other thing which is कि how much of revenue. अब ये तो हो गया कि we have 100 rupees. Now how will this 100 rupee actually be spent on is also controlled by the central government. Central government can decide, let's say it prioritizes Pradhan Mantri Anna Yojana, or it provides Prime Minister's Awas Yojana. In both the schemes, this is primarily funded by central government. So पैसा कहाँ जाएगा उसका बर्डन, वो डिसीजन मेकिंग भी किसके पास है? सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के पास. बट द प्राइमरी बर्डन फॉर एक्सपेंसिव थिंग्स विच इज बेसिक एजुकेशन, हेल्थ केयर, वो कौन बियर करता है? स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. सो इफ द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के खुद के पैसे ही कम हैं, how will they be able to provide all of that is becomes the big question. Okay, so the poor state of India's fiscal federalism is telling us that state governments have less money, have less power, and have less authority on how all of it will be done. So despite saying that we are a federal country, it is the central government that has the control over money, and whosoever has control over the money can control the narrative. All right, so this is what the author is pointing out to us in this article. आप लोगों के लिए सबसे ज़्यादा important है सबसे पहले नोट करना कि what is the division of divisible pool of taxes. So as per the divisible pool of taxes, we are to have (14th Finance Commission to 42%). This non-divisible pool of taxes, cess and surcharge go directly to Union Kitty. Okay. States are forced to pay differential interest up to 7% for the union market borrowings. ब्याज भी देना पड़ता है state governments को. Then the responsibility of expenditure. Okay. Who has the responsibility of expenditure? That is also written here. So जो हमने डिस्कस किया है वो यहाँ पे है. Okay. Then lastly, why is all of this important? Why are we discussing all of it? Is because of the nature of why fiscal federalism was called into. Okay, in politics we have equality and socio-economic. These conflicts demanded attention, but we failed to blow it up. Those denied will blow up the structure of political democracy. That if we do not allow people who are backward, and we do not allow states to actually provide equality awareness schemes, then the overall structure of fiscal federalism will collapse in India. Now why is that? Because income tax base in India is narrow and indirect tax base is much more. Okay, so okay, so this is a very important article in general जो आपको पढ़ना ही पढ़ना है. ठीक है. Then we move on to the next one, which is about the chess Olympiad. So India is hosting the 44th chess Olympiad. ठीक है. The first one happened in 1927 at UK. India's first representation was in 1956. All right, and then The 44th Chess Olympiad was originally it was to be in Russia, and then relocated to Chennai, India. ठीक है? Who conducts it? Alright, these are the things to be noted down from this one. Up, we'll be able to know about it once the results are in. Okay, next, US search for a new role in West Asia. This was surrounded by Joe Biden's meeting and his travel to West Asia. So he went to a lot of places, he conducted a lot of meetings. So where all did he go? That becomes the first thing. The most important part was his I2U2 summit, which he attended virtually, which was between India, Israel, UAE and USA. These four countries, it is I2U2. India, Israel, US, UAE. Okay. Then he also visited Saudi Arabia. Now Saudi Arabia's visit was based on trying to get increase of oil production. Now for oil production, it needs to be noted down. The organization is OPEC, Organization for Petroleum Extraction Countries. Okay. He was also awarded by Israel the Presidential Medal of Honor. Okay. So first stop, let's go line by line. Israel. At Israel, he committed that will not allow Iran to have nukes. Nuclear weapons. Okay. Then he went to Saudi Arabia for increase in oil production. This was related to OPEC. Okay. Then the next thing that he called for was Negev Forum. What is the Negev Forum? It is the forum of member countries related to the Abraham Accords. Okay. Then the last summit that he had was with the Gulf Cooperation Council, countries of the Gulf. Okay. GCC and then I2U2. This is the star one. I2U2 being the star thing of his trip. So these are the things that we have to note down. Now why are we talking about these ones? So first one is relevant for JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. This one is related to inflation. Okay. And this is related to India's foreign policy. So that is why we are talking about all of these things. Okay? So a very important article. Next, a global order caught up in swirl of chaos. So this one was written by M.K. Narayanan, our former security advisor, and he's talking about what the chaos is in the world. So we all know that there is a war brewing in the world, Ukraine, Russia. This war has divided the world on two blocks basically. This is also leading to tensions between other countries across the world, China, Taiwan, US, China, India, China. There is a lot of tension in the world across. There is a lot of rise in military. There is a rise in terrorism. So this editorial tells us the things that are happening around the world. Okay. So first about Europe. That Europe may be rudderless. What does the sense rudderless means? That Ukraine, to prevent Ukraine or to protect Ukraine, none of the European countries could actually take a proactive step until and unless the US stepped in. Okay, so if the US is not doing, Europe is basically reliant on USA for its security. So which brings into highlight what is known as NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which was created in 1949 and is backed by USA. Okay? USA is the primary security provider. Right? Now the second part is China-Russia link. The friendship between China and Russia and how this is being seen as a challenge. Okay, so to counter it, there are different other organizations that are coming up. First is AUKUS Alliance, Australia, UK, US, then is the Quad, and then we have the Indo-Pacific entity. Okay, partners in the Blue Pacific. Partners in the Blue Pacific. So first AUKUS, Quad, and then which is Australia, New Zealand, UK, US and Japan. Okay, then are the security troubles of India and its neighborhood. So सबसे पहले हमें पता ही है Pakistan is obviously always there, but the other problems that we have is, first of all, Taliban Afghanistan. We do not have a very good relationship with them. Then is the fall of, or what is happening in Sri Lanka right now. Will it actually lead to any proper solutions for the country? That needs to be seen. Will its economy bounce back? Because otherwise there will be a lot of economic refugees coming into India. Then the third thing is West Asia. So in the previous article only we talked about West Asia, the tensions between Iran and Saudi Arabia, the friendship between UAE, Israel and Saudi Arabia. Those are key things to be noted down. And lastly is nuclear deterrence. That weapons of mass destruction or the nuclear ones. Okay, that countries are slowly realizing to protect themselves from a war, it is important to have nuclear weapons. Okay, that is being seen as an important step. which is a threat to world peace, because if everybody has nuclear weapons, it could also then mean further wars. All right. Next, reform bail law but make the right diagnosis first. So Chief Justice of India and the Supreme Court in a recent case, that is Satyendra Kumar Antil versus CBI, pointed out that India के अंदर bail has become an exception, whereas the reality of the law is that bail should be the norm. आप किसी को जेल के अंदर, that is उनकी आर्टिकल 19 और 21 को बहुत ही एक्सेप्शनल सर्कमस्टांसेस में वायलेट कर सकते हैं, बट इंडिया के अंदर ओवरऑल लेवल ऑफ imprisonment is very high. Why? Now, what are the problems that are there, or what are the reasons for this case? First, high under trials. Now, high under trials are there because of lower access to courts, then poor infra, poor judicial infra. ठीक है. Now, then it is talking about flawed assumptions, or what could be the reason ki why this could be happening. So first of all is ki a lot of the times this is primarily because we have high, or our law and order is very good. If we put more people in jail, our law and order is gonna get better. That is an assumption that the author is dismissing. Okay, then we move on to MC12 over its gains for the developed world. What is this MC12 that has happened? It is the 12th ministerial conference of WTO. World Trade Organization की ministerial conference happened in Geneva. This was co-hosted by Kazakhstan. Okay. Now, a couple of things happened in this conference. This was to lay down the rules of trade going ahead. First of all, there was no vaccine waiver or IPR, intellectual property rights waiver, on the COVID-19 materials, vaccines, treatment, medicines, anything of that sort will not become cheap. It will continue to have that kind of system. Second, the overall control over trade will remain with the developed countries. So WTO, the World Trade Organization, उनकी कॉन्फ्रेंस कहाँ पे हुई? जिनीवा. किसने को होस्ट करी? कजाकिस्तान ने. सो सबसे पहले ठीक है. Then is Madam President, which was the victory of Draupadi Murmu ji, who became our 15th President of India. She is the first tribal, second women as president. Okay. She is from Odisha. She is a governor of Jharkhand. Why her candidature becomes important for us is, as highlighted in the note, that it is rich in symbolism. Okay, it is rich in symbolism, that a tribal lady acquiring the top office in our country in the 75th year of our independence is a way to send out a message in the country that democracy is thriving in India, that you can rise to the top position in India without any fear of not being from a privileged background. So that is the message that this is being trying to show. Okay. Next is stinging indictment. Now what was this about? This was about fake cases in the name of curbing Maoism / the Naxal movement. In 2017, 25 CRPF jawans were killed. Okay? They were killed. Then what happened? The state arrested 141 tribals in this offense. Now in the year 2022, all of them have been let go because no case was made out against them. So if Maoism thrives because of alienation of people, alienation of tribals. Why does it thrive? Alienation of tribals. If you are targeting the community for killing, despite them not even being responsible, then this will lead to further alienation. It will increase alienation in the society. Okay? That is what this is talking about. Right? Keep filing more cases against them. All of this was criticized by the court, saying that how can you accuse people against whom you have zero evidence. Alright? So it puts into limelight the UAPA case, law and its low conviction. Okay? Next, Chile marks a notch in global constitutionalism. So this one was important on the concept of constitutionalism. Ki Chile as a country is going to move towards a constitutional society. They are adopting a new constitution. So why is this important? So सबसे पहले it talks about how the people who created their constitution, their constituent assembly is inclusive. It has more women, half of them are women. Okay. Then it also has representation of its tribal community. It also has representation of its minorities in a healthy number. So the people who are creating it are inclusive. It is more representative. One of the reasons our constitution is criticized is because the constituent assembly was not elected by the people. So that was a threat that was seen. It was only elected. It was not through universal adult franchise through which our constitution was created. Now the second thing that their constitution makes a notch up is that it provides for socio-economic rights. For example, हमारे constitution में ऐसा नहीं है कि अगर सरकार के पास 100 रुपए हैं तो it will focus first on poverty. ऐसा कोई law exist नहीं करता है हमारे यहाँ. Okay, state can take action howsoever it wants to. Okay, states, सरकार चाहे तो सारा का सारा पैसा कॉर्पोरेशंस को खर्च कर सकती है, इवन इफ इट लीड्स टू मोर इनइक्वालिटी इन द सोसाइटी. हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में ये भी कोई रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं है स्टेट पे कि वो एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेट करे. सो द ऑथर इज टेलिंग अस दैट हाउ socio-economic rights such as those that are mentioned in our directive principle of state policy, equal pay for equal work, living wage to be provided, those are things that their constitution provides as guarantees. Okay, it provides as guarantees. Then the third part is upon election and public participation. So हमारे यहाँ क्या होता है, are we consulted by the political party for whom we have voted on the laws they are about to bring in? No, they just bring the law and we are supposed to accept them. This, their constitution makes it mandatory for public participation कि कोई भी कानून उनके देश के अंदर बिना public participation के नहीं किया जा सकता. First, you have to provide that in public domain, public से comments, public approval is equally important in their constitution. So public participation in lawmaking is important. And then it has a vision of eliminating inequality. It has a vision of providing healthcare and maximum benefit to human development. Okay. So this is about okay. You want to take a screenshot, all right. It is based on Chile. Okay, then we move on to cart before the horse. This is talking about arrest first, investigate later. कि हमारे यहाँ क्या हो रहा है? This is based on the article और statements by the Chief Justice of India कि हमारे यहाँ प्रैक्टिस क्या हो गई है, पहले पर्सन को अरेस्ट कर लो, फिर उसके खिलाफ इन्वेस्टिगेट करो कि what are the grounds for this person और उसके बाद चार्जेस फाइल करो. आइडियली क्या होना चाहिए, इन्वेस्टिगेशन फर्स्ट, चार्जेस बताओ किसी को कि क्यों उनको जेल में जाने की ज़रूरत है और फिर अरेस्ट करो. इन अ constitutional democratic society this should be the case. Otherwise what we end up became, or what do we become if we follow this arrest first, investigate later, charges last? We become a police state. ठीक है. Next is about the now, all of you are aware that Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa ran away because of protests. That inflation is high in this country. Their economy is on the verge of collapse. There is rationing going on. So there is a new president, Ranil Wickremesinghe, a new Prime Minister D. Gunawardene. Both of them are seen as the Rajapaksa's favorite only. Nevertheless, whether they will be able to get the country back on its standing is what needs to be seen. Okay, so fleeing, quitting. This is when, as a society, we become aware that those in power had been fooling us. Okay. Next is staying watchful. Inflation risk undermining growth. That inflation in our country is still above 6% plus. 6% से ऊपर है हमारे यहाँ. And what it does is it has a negative impact on growth. It has a negative impact on cost of living. Or rather you can say standard of living. ठीक है. Then it has a negative impact on employment. All right. So what needs to be done? The RBI needs to take steps to put in a policy of fiscal consolidation. High inflation has in the long run a negative impact on employment. जैसे जैसे inflation rise होता रहता है continuously और it remains at a high pace, demand goes down. When demand goes down, firms will not hire people to grow because they know that they are not gonna grow anyway. Okay. Right. Next part is change and continuity. This is about the Wimbledon championships. Men's his 7th title and 21st Grand Slam. In women, we had a new winner for the first time, okay, which was from Kazakhstan, okay. In women's, we had for the first time we had a winner, okay, who was from Kazakhstan, that is yes, employment is falling, unemployment is increasing, Harsh, continuously. ठीक है? This is far apart is about the differences between India and China. Okay, that India-China tensions will continue. China seems to be testing India whether it can continue to sustain almost 50,000 troops on the cold borders in Ladakh. Will India be able to sustain this onslaught? This is about the tension. So failed talks between India and China. All right. Now, what are the points of disagreement? First, Depsang Plains. Hot Springs, and then Petrol Point 15, which falls between these two areas. Okay. And the last one that we will be discussing today, okay, is a plan that is much more than just planting trees. Okay, so this is about how it is not about anymore planting more trees. It is also to ensure a restoration of the landscape around forest. So सिर्फ पेड़ लगाने से enough नहीं होगा. We have to take special steps to improve the overall sustainability of our forests. Okay, वो करने की ज़रूरत है. ठीक है. So उसके अंदर World Environment Day, which is celebrated on June 5 every year. ठीक है. इसके साथ साथ इस साल we are also celebrating Wan Mahotsav Day. Then apart from it is the decade, that is the coming decade will be followed as UN Decade of Ecosystem Restoration. Okay, what is it? UN Decade of Ecosystem Restoration. Okay. All right, moving on. Next one is about hate crimes, is Article 19, speech plus imminent violence. Okay. That is known as hate crime, hate speech. Okay, when we are trying a speech that creates or calls for imminent violence between communities. Okay, and the last one was about the 3 conferences that the Prime Minister attended in the month of June. Okay, so first BRICS Summit, then he attended the G7, and then the other thing that happened was the NATO summit. Okay, so the implication of these organizations on the overall one, this is similar to the one written by M.K. Narayanan. Now, words from Bandung to relive in Bali and Delhi. Now, why is this so? Bali and Delhi में क्या होने वाला है? G20 2022 will happen in Bali, and 2023 will happen in Delhi. Okay, India will probably host it in Delhi only. Okay, so it is at this place where we will be hosting the world leaders, and thus it is there that probably we will, if all the countries come together, could also be seen as a thaw in the tensions that are rising. So Bandung में क्या हुआ था? 1955 में India hosted the Bandung Conference. Okay, the Bandung Conference called for peace and non-alignment, that countries should not fall for these military alliances and should focus on peace. Okay, so this is Bandung. that is the 1955 Bandung Conference. Okay. On that note, the other three, now all the next three of them, that is handcuffing, a judicial trap, and technology no Pinocchio for custodial deaths, is about the violence in jail. Okay, that is handcuffing. The practice of handcuffing people has to be done in exceptional circumstances, that it has to only be done in exceptional cases. And then about custodial deaths, that technology cannot lead to this reduction in custodial deaths. It can only be done through a better policing system, that the police itself has to become more compassionate. Okay, so things to note down under this are avatar. What is avatar? The automated visual agent for truth assessment in real time. कि अच्छा पुलिस वाले, let's say presume that police is doing violence while doing custody, so what should we have? We should have technology, we should have computers doing investigation, trying to interrogate people. This will improve or remove the case of custodial violence. The author is saying no, artificial intelligence cannot do it. The compassionate of police forces is required. So on that note, I'll be taking your leave. All right, everyone. I will be hosting 2 sessions on my special classes today, that is at 9 p.m. Backlog quiz, and at 10:15 p.m. a doubt session. Both these sessions will happen on Unacademy's special class, which is absolutely free. So do attend them. The link will be in the bio, and all you need is access to the code KUSHGK. इस कोड के थ्रू आप इसको एक्सेस कर सकते हैं और आपको कुछ करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. On that note, just a quick reminder for you all, अगर आप GK मुझसे पढ़ना चाहते हैं, then you should enroll for the Success Law batch, in which I'll be taking your entire GK for CLAT and LSAT examinations. And the best part is that you can avail a 20% discount on the overall subscription and also get extra months right now when you subscribe. To make your savings at the earliest, and use the code KUSHGK to subscribe, so that I can see you in classes, help you all prepare in the best manner. So take the iconic one if you want physical notes, and the plus one if you do not want physical notes to reach your doorstep. At least take a 6-month one, because your CLAT examination is gonna fall in 6 months only. On that note, other updates about my classes will be available on my Telegram channel, that is Kushagra Goyal _Unacademy. And there is a doubt solving session also scheduled for all of you, where doubts related to specific segments will be provided to you. You can ask those doubts in these classes. On that note, thank you so much. अगर आपको ये वीडियो अच्छा लगा है तो please give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, do subscribe to it. तब तक अपना ध्यान रखो. Bye bye.